Good morning. Good morning. This is Valerie Leonard. I am the founder of nonprofit Utopia. I want to welcome you to today's live stream. We're going to be focusing on developing leadership plans. As you may or may not know, this is the month in the nonprofit Utopia community in which we hit the reset button. We're taking stock of, where we've been this year, and it's been a quite eventful year, looking at what worked, what didn't work, what didn't work. We have assessed our own leadership skills, our skills as well as our preferences, looking at the types of environments that we survive best in. And today we're going to show you how to do your individual leadership plan, because as we know, everything rises and falls on leadership. And on Friday, we're going to show you how to do an assessment of your organization. And the goal of all of these activities is to help us to navigate the changes. And, we have to be self-aware and be aware of what our organizations need. So I'm going to share with you today how we can do an individual plan. And if you're a member of the nonprofit Utopia community, we will also have discussions in that forum to share, what your thoughts have been as they relate to your leadership assessment. We will also, give you feedback and talk about our individual leadership plans. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and go through the presentation. Okay, so again, we're going to talk about how to develop an individual leadership plan. And before we do that, I want to give you a little bit of information about the nonprofit Utopia community. We're the ideal community for emerging nonprofit leaders. And I want to underscore that, not just for emerging nonprofit leaders, but those emerging nonprofit leaders who really want to make a transformation within themselves, as well as their communities and their organizations. So we've created a very safe environment in which our members can innovate, they can talk about ideas, and they can speak very candidly about some of the issues that they're going through on a day-to-day basis. And we encourage them to share resources. And in fact, we design our content to fit the needs of the people in the community. And our mission is to develop the next generation of ethical nonprofit leaders, and we provide ongoing professional development and networking opportunities in which experienced nonprofit leaders can share their experience and lessons learned with emerging nonprofit leaders who also have a lot to share. So we want to cross-pollinate the ideas across the generations. And the overarching goal of the community is to give our members the tools that they need to not only develop themselves as leaders, but to develop strong organizations that make a lasting impact to the communities that they serve. And our vision is to strengthen the global nonprofit sector by providing training and development opportunities for 50,000 people between now and 2033. And if you want to learn more about Nonprofit Utopia, I encourage you to go to www.nonprofitutopia.com, and you can also join us by going to https://nonprofitutopia.mn.co. And to give you a little bit of information about myself, I have been doing consulting for nonprofit organizations ever since about 2003. And I help my clients to move the needle on some of their most pressing problems. And I do this through consulting, coaching, as well as community. And I help them find answers to questions like, how do I start a new organization and stay out of trouble? Where can I find good board members who will buy into the organization's mission and help raise money? How can we put together a collaborative of other organizations such that we can do more for the community, but strengthen ourselves in the process? And over the years, I've helped over 750 people meet their professional goals and helped them raise over $100 million. And this is through grant writing and technical assistance. So now let's delve into why we're here. Um, when you develop your leadership plan, the first thing you have to do is know your why. And when we're talking about know your why, in this context, we're looking at, why are you writing the plan? Is this plan for personal development? Is it for professional development? Did your boss suggest that you do this plan? Or are you at a point in your career where you're trying to plot the next move and you need to do some inner work, within yourself to see where you are now and where you're going? Or are you writing the plan, because of civic engagement? Are you trying to assess your ability to move the organization forward or move a movement forward? And then after that, you want to look at your context. And your context in this situation is your where. You want to describe the situation. Where is it? Is it work? What's happening at work? What's happening in the school environment, the school community. It may not necessarily just be the school in which you work or the school in which your kids attend. It may be a whole community of other learning institutions. Are you doing your leadership plan within the context of your family, your home and family life? Are you looking to be a better parent, a better leader of the household? Are you looking to improve yourself so that you can help others in your immediate family move forward? Are you a leader in the church, or do you aspire to be a leader in your church? Are you leading a civic organization or some community initiative? What about the local organization? So again, you need to, take stock of the context within which you're doing the leadership plan, because the goals and objectives that you select could be very different depending on the context. After that, you want to share your what. What's going on right now? You know, Obviously, one of the things that's going on right now is COVID-19, but that's not the only thing that's going on. So you want to assess the environment and you want to look at the current events, you want to look at the current issues. Are there any problems? Are there any challenges? What are some of the driving factors behind those problems or challenges? And what are the consequences for not taking any action? The next thing you want to do is look at your who. And your who in this case is the stakeholders. Who really cares about the outcome of your planning process? Who else is impacted? Is it your boss? Is it your family? Is it the community? Is it the organization? How can stakeholders actually help you to achieve the goals and objectives in your plan? How can they help you to sort out, quote unquote, who you are, what your strengths and weaknesses are? Because sometimes, we have, a, I would say, we don't always have a clear picture of who we are and how we come across to people. So as we do this self-reflection, it's always important to get feedback from stakeholders, people who will be impacted by our leadership plans. How can the stakeholders help us? Are they supportive, or will they actually be people who could potentially block our path? How can we develop mutually beneficial strategies? Because if people are going to take the time to help us to sort out who we are and what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, and how we can navigate, it's really, really important for us during this process to think of ways that we can, in fact, help the other. So it should be a two-way street and not a one-way street. Who inspires you? And your answer should be given within the context of your why you're doing this, where, which is, the context within which you're doing the plan, and your what. All right, you want to develop a list of people that you view as strong leaders and why you view them as strong leaders. And then when you build on this list of people that you admire, you develop a list of qualities that you think make strong leaders altogether. And if there are any other leadership qualities that you've not listed based on the people who inspire you most, you should add them. And then you ask yourself, do you in fact have those qualities? Are there some qualities you wish you had that you wish you could develop? And then you want to do the same process with the people who least inspire you. And sometimes the people that do harm, people that we respect the least, they have qualities that we just really, really absolutely don't admire. And those are important to take into account as well, because we need to be self-aware and make sure that we're not guilty of those same behaviors that we dislike in others. So again, your answer should be done within the context of your why, your where, and your what. And then you want to develop a list of people who you consider to be flawed leaders. And quite frankly, we're all flawed leaders, but you want to develop a list of people whose characteristics you think are very negative in such a way that you really don't want to repeat the same mistakes and you don't want to emulate this type of leader. And then indicate too, why are those flaws, fatal flaws in their leadership? And then building on the list of people that you least admire, again, you want to develop a list of qualities that make weak leaders. And then you want to look and see, if you yourself possess those qualities. And this is the hard work of self-reflection, because, anytime we look at ourselves honestly, we're going to find things that we like, things that we don't like, and you can't really fix things that you don't address. You can't just continue to ignore those fatal character flaws that keep you from moving forward. And I'm speaking from my own experience as well. This is not meant to be judgmental. Okay, and if there are any other leadership qualities that you can think of that you have not listed based on those people, you know, again, they might be based on yourself. You should add that to the list. All right, and then after that, you want to make sure that you assess your own leadership capacity and style. All right, so what are your own strengths and challenges that you're aware of? What are your skills? These could be personal skills, interpersonal skills, technical skills. And the skills that you list, again, those are going to be based on the context and the reason why you're doing this leadership plan in the first place. The same types of skills you list in a personal environment may or may not be the same types of skills that you list, in a professional setting. How do you see yourself in terms of your ability to influence others? How do others view your leadership ability? How do you like to do your work? In what environments do you thrive? And are you currently in an environment where you can thrive? And again, you can do this on a personal basis and you can do this on a professional basis. And it's always important, to, as I said before, not only do the self-reflection, but you want to get feedback from people that you work with, people that you work for, and even your subordinates, so you get a complete picture, of who you are as a leader. Sometimes it's not enough just to do this self-reflection, and make sure that you're talking to people who you can trust. One, um, to not share confidential information, but you want to trust people to be honest. Sometimes the people that we ask are not always honest because they don't want to hurt our feelings, but the only way we can grow is to get honest feedback. And we have to be honest with ourselves when we're doing our self-assessments. And there are a number of popular assessment tools, and here are three that I want to share. There's the John Maxwell's Leadership Assessment Tool, and we have worked with the derivative of that in our community, looking at what our raw skills are, how well we can influence other. And then there's the Briggs-Meyer tool, which helps you get a real good sense for what your personality traits are and how you might maneuver professional environments based on your particular personality traits and how those personality traits might mesh with other different personality combinations. And then another tool that we are also working on in the nonprofit Utopia community is the Leadership as Fit by Human Dynamics Institute. That is a simple tool that helps us to get a sense for whether or not we would thrive better in a more structured, traditional environment, or whether or not we feel more comfortable in an environment that has less structure. It's a flattened structure, and it's more, I would say, more it's more democratic. And when I say democratic, I'm not talking about your political affiliation, but democratic in terms of the way decisions are made. It's not just one leader, it's not just a hierarchical approach. You're really leading a team of equals, and everyone's input is viewed as important. And the results of these tests are really, really helpful in helping you understand yourself, helping you understand how other people might see you and respond to you within a leadership context. The next thing you want to do is determine your core values. And core values are basically those absolutes. Those are those principles that you use, your own ethics, and they guide your decisions and they define your integrity, so to speak. And these are the things that help you weigh choices in life and are typically unwavering. And whether or not we list those things, everybody has a set of core values, and organizations have a set of core values. Sometimes our core values fit within our organizations. Sometimes our core values don't fit within our organizations. Sometimes organizations say they believe in a certain way and they believe certain things. And really, the way they behave is their core value system, not this long list of things, right? So we want to make sure that the way we behave is consistent with what we say we are, right? That is really the definition of integrity. Are you who and what you say you are? After that, you want to write a personal vision statement. And this is a statement that describes how you view yourself in the future as a result of all the activities that you're going to uh, engage in along your journey. It's going to reflect your personal traits and your core values. And in this case, you want to refer to your self-assessment results as well. And it basically, this statement, vision statement, is going to answer the question, who am I and why am I here? And I think we all kind of go through that every now and then. And these assessment tools really help us to flesh out who we are, within the context of a professional environment. The personal vision statement is going to become your personal constitution. And when we talk about constitution, we're talking about something that guides your core, the core way you do things. It's your basic makeup, your core principles. Okay, so this vision statement is going to be a physical reminder for you to see where you've been, where you are, and where you want to go. And for those of you who are not only doing this exercise, to develop your individual plan, this will be really helpful too as you design your vision board and as you design your canvas and your vision canvas for your organization. And by outlining your vision, you'll have something to look back on when it comes time to develop your goals and write an action plan. And really, you always want to keep your vision statement in front of you. Pretty much like an organization would, you would do that personally, or we would do that personally. So here's an example of a personal vision statement. And I got this from the Criminal Watchdog blog. And this is from Amanda Steinberg. She's the founder of dailyworth.com. Her personal vision statement is to use my gifts of intelligence, charisma, and serial optimism to cultivate the self-worth and net worth of women around the world. Notice her vision statement is a very, very broad statement. It's something that's aspirational. It's something that really, really causes her to reach. And it's something she may never, ever attain, but it is definitely something to reach for, right? There's a saying that says, you you reach for the stars and you may land on the moon, or something to that effect. So let your reach always exceed your grasp. And then you want to ground yourself in reality. What do others think? And you don't want to get so consumed in what others think that you don't move forward. It's not that kind of party. Um, you care about what others think because it's really important for you to understand how you come across to others before you can motivate others. Remember, this is an individual leadership plan, and leadership is about influence and motivation. So it's important for you to understand what makes other people tick. And then you want to also consider sharing your results with others or administering the same assessment tools and then comparing results. So in cases where you're working with teams and it's really important for you to understand what makes the different team members tick, it's probably a good idea to understand the results of those assessments of people who are sitting around the table with you. In the instance where you want to manage others or you're being supervised by others, it's helpful for your supervisor as well as your subordinates to take this test and also assess you so that you can get a sense for how to manage up, manage your supervisor, so to speak, and how to manage down, manage your subordinates. And you also want to look at patterns that begin to emerge, patterns that emerge over time, patterns that emerge across the various tasks. You want to look at similarities of your perception versus others, as well as differences. And, you'll be amazed. Sometimes doing these assessments, you'll be surprised at the results. I know as I do these assessments, I'm always surprised. And then these assessment results too, over time, they vary based on our experiences, based on the current situation as well. And so it's important to take these assessments from time to time because our leadership does develop over time. And, at different points in time, we're going to need to rely on different skills. So speaking of skills, what skills do you have that serve as a foundation? What skills do you need? There may be a job And there may be skills that they list in the job description that you don't have. So that could be a good clue as to what skills you need. Or you might consider starting an organization. You may be one who does fundraising now, but you may not necessarily have those skills that are necessary to run a complete organization, where you have to manage other people, you have to manage the budget, you have to be keenly aware of what's going on at the program level and all that good stuff. So those types of assessments, as well as our own aspirations, help us get a clue as to what kind of skills are needed within the context within which we work, or within the context within which we want to work. And then if you find that there's some gaps in your skills, you need to ask yourself, where and how will you get the necessary skills? It could be through additional training, you can get a mentor, it could be additional education. Self-education is always good. This is a really good time to indulge. You can get more education on the job through cross-training. You can get more training by volunteering, or by becoming engaged in the civic affairs of your community. And then you ask yourself, who can help you get those skills? Is there a leader that you admire who would be willing to take you under his or her wings? Is there a partner that you're working with, in the community? You're working on a project. Is it someone, again, who'll be willing to spend a few minutes with you, in an interviewing situation? Are there videotapes that you can view of people that you admire? Are there articles written by people that you admire, and you can begin to pattern yourself? So as you can see, there are a number of ways people can help you directly or indirectly. And after that, you want to develop goals and objectives. And you probably have all heard of SMART goals. And SMART goals are those specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely goals. So they're very specific as to what you want to do, right? And then they also give you the magnitude of change. And then they also tell you, give you a time frame by which you want to affect that change. And they need to be realistic and achievable within your current capacity to pay for the training that you might need, within your capacity to learn those skills, within a certain time, or your capacity to actually take advantage of the training that you'll need, given the time constraints and other demands on your time. So remember that the goals and objectives should be done within the context of why you're doing the plan. Again, it could be for professional reasons, it could be for personal reasons. It could be because this is something you feel a personal desire to do, or it could be something that your boss told you is necessary, or it could be because you feel a need to stretch so you can start your own organization or start a new position. So again, they should be in alignment with the goals and objectives of your particular organization or your group. That is, if you are doing this so that you can move up within that hierarchy. If your reason for doing it is professional, but you don't necessarily want to stay within that group, then it's important that whatever your plan is shaped by your own core values. And then you begin to either start an organization where you can create the culture that reflects your core values, or you can find another organization that is more reflective of your core values. But you have to really do this work so you're not constantly making the mistake of going to environments that go against the grain of who you are and what you believe. Okay, and then next, we want to look at, just basically in summary, how do you develop your individual leadership plans? So the first thing you want to do is identify your own leadership style, your strengths and your weaknesses. Then you do your goals and objectives, and then you outline those activities that are going to help you meet those goals and objectives. Find a mentor or an accountability partner to help you navigate those trainings and those other activities that you're using so that you can improve your your lot in life in terms of your skills and your leadership capability. And then you want to make sure that you keep stakeholders abreast of your progress. It's a good way to solidify your relationships. It's a good way to communicate to higher ups. The changes that you're making is a good way to communicate to people that report to you the changes that you're making so that everyone is on the same page, and you will begin to increase your ability to influence up or influence down or across the organization. And then finally, I say just do it. Just do it. You want to implement your leadership action plan. All right. So that basically concludes, our little presentation. If you have any questions about this webinar, you can send them to me at ValerieFLeonard@nonprofitutopia.com. And if you're in the Nonprofit Utopia community, I encourage you to post any questions or concerns you might have about this exercise in the forum. And for those of you who are interested in joining us, you can go to nonprofitutopia.mn.co. That is our link to our membership group. And then you can follow us on Twitter. You can follow us on Facebook. I'm not in a position where I can see comments that are made on YouTube or Facebook or any of the social media, but I promise you I will check those conversations and respond to them just as soon as this is over. And I will talk to you soon. Alrighty, so on Friday, we're going to be talking about how you assess your organizations. So taking the information that we've learned so far, the information from our self-assessment, the information from this webinar on developing our individual leadership plans, we're going to build on that to actually look at our organizations. And then by the end of the month, we're going to be able to develop a plan that helps us to not only strengthen our own professional development, but it'll strengthen our personal and professional leadership, but also help us to navigate the changes that we need as we build the capacity of our own organizations to thrive. All right, so without further ado, I want to say thank you so much for joining us. And again, if you have any questions, you can either post on Facebook or whatever social media you're looking at, and I'll respond. Or you can email me at ValerieFLeonard@nonprofitutopia.com. Or if you are a member of the Nonprofit Utopia community, feel free to post in a forum and I'll get right back to you. All right, take care. Bye-bye.